Hey everybody, ronarray here, and in this video I want to focus on the new resources that we will need to farm in Season 4 of Diablo. Generally right now we have a lot of additional resources and some of them are kinda hard to find. The most scarce resource is probably gold, so in this video I'm going to explain the best way to farm gold itself. And on top of that I'm going to explain all the resources that you will need to get and what is the best way to get them. Click on the related timestamps if it needed, and let's go. So the best way right now to farm gold is pretty much farming whispers at the tree. Because whispers can provide you rewards that together with some resources are going to drop you gold. And you can get a lot of gold from one reward. As you can see on the screen, I'm getting about 6 millions of gold just from one reward, which is completely amazing. You can get from 3 to 6 millions. The main question is right now how to do whispers as fast as possible. So the best way to farm whispers in my opinion is pretty much doing them in the Haltite. First off, you are going to receive Haltite resources that you will need anyway to farm Durel. And second, the whole whispers in the Haltites are pretty much very simple and basic goals. For example, open 3 tortured gifts, which is pretty nice and pretty straightforward. Or you can get destroy demonic structures, so you just need to run around and kill some demons. Sometimes you're getting special whisper that will require you to kill a blood maiden, and that's pretty much a horn lady that's hidden in the Haltite, and you will be able to see her icon when you're joining the Haltite itself. When you finish with the Haltite part, I recommend to focus on doing harvests for 3 green favors and dungeons for 5 green favors. Dungeons could take a little more time, harvests could take a little less, but dungeons provide more green favors, and I think most of the time they're pretty much worth it. After you finish with them, if you already did all of them and you still have open time, you can just go and do PvP ones. So in PvP, I recommend to just focus on getting Thieves Abomination. Well, if the monster is here, you can just join, kill it fast and get 5 green favors. That's pretty much it. On top of that, if you prefer it, you can get Purify Seeds too, because it will take only 1 minute, you can purify even 20 seeds, and most of the time there's not a lot of people doing PvP in the area. However, if you can't handle it, you can focus on just doing dungeons, harvest, and Haltites instead, and it will be perfectly enough. So the biggest part about the Whispers and Haltites that they're going to reset together with the Haltite itself. So when Haltite is ending and the new one starts, the Whispers are resetted. And sometimes if the Haltite will spawn in a special location, you're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Whispers instead of basic 4 amount. That way you can get even more Whispers in a row while Haltite is there. Another thing that can help you with gold is pretty much spending your obols correctly. If you just need gold and don't really care about the items, I recommend to go for armor or one-handed weapons, such as focus for sorcerers, for example. You can just buy all of them pretty quickly, spending all your obols, and after that you can just go here and pretty much just sell them all immediately. Most of the time you're not really going to get any good items in there, and it can net you a few millions. If you will drop something decent, so that one has a star, for example, you can just skip it. So the next pretty important item is Scattered Prism. And Scattered Prism mostly drops from the world bosses. There are the chances to get that randomly, but most of the time it's very important to just get at your world boss and kill it. As you can see, world boss can give you 1 Scattered Prism. Sometimes it can even give 2, but most of the time it's just 1. Make sure you're not missing world bosses and you're getting your prisms ready, because you will need your prisms to pretty much just improve sockets amount on your items themselves. If they drop randomly for you, it's pretty good too, but most of the time it's just world bosses. So the next set of resources that I want to comment is pretty much Obducite, Ingolith, and Neathiron. So for that you just will need to run Pit. So from tier 1 to tier 30, you're going to receive Obducite. You just need to run it, and pretty much you're going to receive Obducite at the end. From tier 31 to tier at least 60, you're going to receive Ingolith. So as you can see, you can change it here, and it will be Ingolith up to 60. And from 60 and onwards, you're going to receive Neathiron. So everything further is pretty much Neathiron by itself. But here's a trick which is pretty important and which will help you to get it. So if you go to the alchemist, you can craft materials from them. So for example, if you need a lot of Obducite by itself, you can just craft Obducite from Ingolith on a pretty nice rate. However, you will need to pay gold in the process. You can also craft Ingolith out of Neathiron. That way you can get it from the highest resource. So if you can farm like pit 60 and plus, it's much better to farm pit 60 and then just broke your Neathiron to the lower levels of currencies, so Obducite and Ingolith, both of them. So Alchemist and third transmutation part is your helper in that. Another resource that you pretty much need to farm proactively is Angelbreath. You will need Angelbreath just to reroll your items consistently, and that's pretty important because you will need to reroll a lot to make sure your items are good enough. So the best way to farm Angelbreath is pretty much events in the Haltide. You can receive up to 10 Angelbreaths just from normal event when you're finishing it in the Haltide, and that's a pretty significant number. So try to do events while you're playing the Haltide and you will never have any issues with Angelbreath. So when we are talking about the Runeshards, we have a few options to farm them. Most of the time, if you need Runeshards like immediately, you can just go and get them from Nightmare dungeons. So if you will finish like tier 100 Nightmare dungeons, you're going to get like close to 15 of them. And that's a pretty nice decision. However, I think that it's much more efficient to just farm them from Gifts of Mysteries. For example, when you're opening them, you're receiving a lot of stuff. And one of them is pretty much Angelbreath, and on top of that you're also receiving Forgotten Souls, additional items, and pretty much Runeshards as well. So another question is pretty much where to get Resplendent Spark. Overall, you're getting Resplendent Spark from disassembling Uber Unix. However, there's a few additional ways how you can get it. You need to kill all the tormented bosses, and you will be able to get it from them. You also will need to finish a quest line of the season itself, and you will be able to get one Resplendent Spark too. On top of that, you're going to get one from Uber Lilith as well. So all that ways together are going to get you some Resplendent Sparks, and if you drop some mythic items, well, that's cool, you will be able to just disassemble them for more, if you don't really need them. So another thing which is pretty much important is farming fragments of the stones right now. Unfortunately, there is no proper ways to farm them, and they're just dropping everywhere. I also noticed when you're doing bosses like Grigor and Varshan, for example, the monsters around are dropping a pretty significant amount. Some are also dropping from the Blood Maiden, and Blood Maiden could be a decent option to get them. But generally, if you're just playing the game, killing enemies and running around, at one point you're going to have enough fragments to pretty much craft all your stones. So I recommend not to focus too much on them. And the last part is pretty much the question how to farm items with high item power. So generally I just recommend to go for Blood Maiden kills, because Blood Maiden kills could be pretty fast if you have a lot of people with you, and she can drop a few oranges items at the same time. They almost always have a maximum item power. I can also give you a few tips how to spend less, both resources and gold. First off, I heavily recommend to first temper items before rerolling them or adding aspects to them or doing anything with them. Because while you are tempering, the item could break, so you will just lose all your rerolls, and you will not get the stats that you pretty much need in there, and it will be completely useless. That way, to avoid spending more, tempering first is probably like a really good idea. I also recommend to masterwork only as the items that you really going to use, and like good items. And avoid masterworking bad items, especially if they are going to go to like 6 and higher masterwork. On top of that, I recommend to sell most of the items that we are receiving instead of disassembling them, because resources that you're getting from disassembling are pretty much not that scarce, and gold is much more needed at that point. If you're going to follow such simple tips, I think you will be just fine. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.